Hey everybody, hey, welcome back to the 53206 cast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meg.
And Meg.
Yeah.
This is a podcast.
It is.
This is a podcast specifically designed to help the listener understand what it might be like to live in an area of concentrated poverty. Specifically, like the inner city.
Yeah.
Meg and I have lived in the inner city of Milwaukee for the last 20 years. It's always crazy to say that.
Well, it is crazy because our wedding anniversary is coming up. And I'm like, is it 20?
Well, yes, this is the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, semantics. But yes, this is the 20th year of us.
No, I'm just saying
here.
I forget. Are we married?
Like how many times? Yes.
How long have we been married? But
well, yes, it's coming up on 20 years. We should do something.
I know. I was just telling Sarah how they're like doing a big thing for their 10th wedding anniversary. And I'm like, you guys are so good at celebrating.
Yeah.
We're not.
Well, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you can help me do something with my dahlia tubers or something.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be doing something with plants.
Yes.
Meg.
Yeah.
You know, normally we record on a weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't recorded on a weekday in a very long time, but today happens to be a weekday.
It does.
Today is Tuesday.
It is.
Which is just different.
Yeah, I was out of town. I went to Washington State, a little getaway with Dex, which was really fun. It was nice.
It's great. But you're back.
I'm back. Yes.
You're back, and it's a weekday. Meg, you have been thinking about this podcast episode for a while.
I have, because I feel like I have so many feelings about this.
Okay.
And I feel like our listeners will also have a lot of feelings about this topic. So I'm going to start out with a story. Okay. And so 2 weeks ago, we were doing some cleanup at the We Got This Garden, and there was a group of individuals who wanted to donate food. Okay. So I think it was November 1st that we were doing this, and so SNAP had just been suspended, and people were like, "I want to give." So we took the opportunity to let people give, and we just kind of put out a table, and people could leave groceries or take groceries, and there was a sign: "Leave what you can, take what you need." Which I thought was kind of clever.
Oh, yeah, that's great job with the signage.
Thank you. There was groceries all over it, so no one actually saw the sign the whole time.
Okay.
But I found it to be just very, very interesting because later on that day, on the We Got This Facebook page, we put up a picture of the groceries, just the groceries on the table, and a thank you. Mm-hmm. Thanks, community, for coming together, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of animosity.
Oh, okay.
There was, and I feel like you know me. I do not like actual conflict, but like when people are fighting about something, I do find it to be pretty interesting, especially online, because it's like are you fighting a bot? I don't know. So I find it to be just very interesting, that whole dynamic. And so, I think I'd looked at it, and then I had looked at it again, and there was like 20 posts. 20 people commented and saying, we shouldn't be giving out things. You should be giving out job applications, and other people were fighting, people deserve food. And so I think the conclusion that I came to was everybody is upset that people are on SNAP. And I think that's something that everyone is in unity. Nobody wants any single person on SNAP. No one wants someone to be reliant on the government for food. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit today, that there, what are the systems that have been created, and like what's our responsibility, what's because I find it to be so interesting too, because I have asked a lot of people in our neighborhood, what do you think about SNAP? And a lot of them are like, I don't like it. I don't like that people are getting a handout. I want there to be more accountability. And so I just feel like it's such an interesting dynamic. I really tried to look into, and I probably didn't do that great of a job, but how even like SNAP works, or like how it started. Like I really wanted a podcast on the history of SNAP, and I couldn't find that.
Okay.
Again, this is
not that podcast.
It is not that podcast. But I found it interesting that like there's not really even that much information on it. There's just kind of people who are for SNAP and people who are against SNAP. And and I want to like go back, because when I was saying no one wants SNAP, like nobody, like I don't want people to be reliant on the government for food. I want people to be able to go and buy their groceries anyway, to spend all the money they want on whatever they want. I want a system where people aren't in poverty and can go do whatever they want and don't have to buy certain items. And like I think the whole system, the way that our society has been created and formed and continues, I don't think it's great. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and I do have thoughts, and I think I think that it's a pretty universal feeling, and I would say that most people, even those individuals that were pretty negative on Facebook, which whatever, who really cares? But
yeah,
I think that if you were to sit someone down and ask them, do you think it's appropriate for people in our country to go hungry?
Yeah.
I think that they would say no.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty universal thought and feeling. But Meg, it's complicated, and I find the conversation to be complicated because I do know a fair amount of people that would not be eating if they didn't have assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's I think that I've gained a lot of
insight
or just wisdom into how the world operates by knowing somebody that can't just go to the store and buy not even whatever they want, but you've got a very, very fixed amount of money to spend on keeping yourself alive.
Yeah.
And so, I want to preface that, and even to preface what you were saying before with, even though it's after, what's after the preface? The end, the forward, whatever.
The epilogue, or
the opposite of preface. What you were saying.
Yeah.
With it, I don't think that there are many people that think anybody should be going, especially children. I mean, I don't know how a child is providing food for themselves. I don't really think that that's what anybody thinks should be taking place. But I would tend to say that I do agree with you that I don't think that anybody really loves the fact that there are people that need that. Meg, when I think about this, when I think about SNAP or any kind of government assistance or any of those kinds of things, I think that those things are created so that the floor of our society isn't lower than what it currently is. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about how like the floor isn't like it's pretty low.
Yeah.
You look around the neighborhood and you see the floor. You see the worst. The worst zip code in the state.
Well, and I feel like a good example is I have been getting in wish list for Christmas presents, holiday presents from families, and I'm surprised at the amount of people who are just asking for clothes and a belt for their kids.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, this 12-year-old boy is not going to be excited about a belt. Like his mom just knows that he needs that, and
sure, like
she clearly wants to, she wants to get him something fun, but they don't have room for that right now. She has to get him, a coat and mittens and a hat because they don't have any margin for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Meg, I in that whole conversation, one of the things that was coming to my mind, and you said, that nobody wants someone to be in a position where reliance on the government is their only means of survival. When you said that, it made me think that it's probably, I mean, it's probably not wrong. It's probably not wrong to say that, because you always want someone, even in from the neighborhood, the poorest of the poor. You want their story to be incrementally more successful than it is today.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a fairly predictable model for that. You get a skill that someone will pay you for, and then you go out and you do that skill, and then you get the money for these other things. And that's kind of how our economy is set up. The capitalism. It took me a minute. Capitalism. Meg, this might be the issue with doing a podcast at night on a weekday.
I know you just had a big nice dinner, and now you're.
I know. Now I'm all sleepy, and I was gonna drink a Nixie, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to sleep later. But
well, and I think I wanna lean in a little bit, because I feel like I don't want people to think I'm against SNAP. I'm against the systems that we've created that have made it so that the floor is so low. I think it's not like it's not right that that this mom who works hard, she needs clothes, she needs food, I did ask a lot of families, do you need food or do you need clothes, and most of them said both.
Sure.
And I think like you said, I think our last podcast, like, when was the last time you needed a coat? You just went out and bought a coat.
Yeah.
And I think like there's just so many of us that we have a lot, and then there's so many people who don't have enough. And I think like that's what I'm saying is just not right. And it is the system of society that like we all play into. Like we all, like if we all gave a bunch of our money to somebody else, we wouldn't, it would be more equal. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but that is a way that.
Well, and that honestly, that is the way that government is set up. And when I hear people talk about any kind of governmental program, the first thing that typically comes into my mind is, we all pool our money together to provide that thing.
Yeah.
And so, Meg, you pay into SNAP. I pay into SNAP. My sister pays into SNAP.
Yeah.
My parents do.
Yeah.
Everybody does. If it's something that's funded by the government collects all of the money, and then they decide how they want that money to be spent. Do I think that some of the money should be spent on feeding people that legitimately can't work? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But anytime you open the door to to that, then you get some of the other individuals that would maybe take advantage of it, or somebody that has decided that this is a better option for me. The limited resources that I get from government assistance is the pathway. And I do think that that's probably, I don't mind so much the people taking advantage of it. I think whatever, any system is going to have somebody, a small percentage of the population that's going to take advantage of it. And you are always going to hear about the 1 out of 20 that is abusing the system.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to hear about the 19 that really do actually need the system.
Yeah.
Because people aren't out bragging that they receive food stamps. It's not something that like it's just not, it doesn't happen, right? Because you don't, it's very unlikely to be a point of pride for somebody that they do require this level of assistance.
Well, and I think when we see like that there are these, I don't know, there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions, and I think when we see that, we really need to ask more questions. Like why are people on SNAP? What can I contribute to make things more even in society? What can I do to help a family who's struggling? I just think it's all it can all be very simple, that we can all give, and I'm not going to say that we can make it better. This is, we talk a lot about how, systemic racism, poverty, it's such a knot, and it's so, it's tangled in so many ways, but there are things that we can do. There are, there's got to be people that and if not, there's got to be organizations that 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 can help, just help level things out, in a time of need.
Well, one of the issues with let's just you throw out the program SNAP, for example, is when you and I and everybody else throws our small percentage of our taxes into this pool of money that then goes to this, there's no relationship with the.
I do not know exactly who is getting my money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's part of it. It's not like I don't need to have a list of I funded 1/8 of this person's SNAP benefits. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't want to know that. That's ridiculous. But what I would say would not be ridiculous, and this is one of the things that I think would just be a better way of operating, would be there are a percentage of the population that would love to provide groceries for a family. And in fact, throughout some of the conversations that you and we don't really need to get into the specifics of it, but I think there are actually more people that would like to give groceries to a family than there are families that need groceries.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think actually it's I probably wouldn't have believed that 5 or 10 years ago, but I do believe it now. I believe that there are more people with excess that understand that what they have been given throughout the course of their life, much of it was earned, but some of it was given. Given and particularly by where they grew up, and who their parents were,
their privilege,
and then in combination with a lot of hard work, they arrived at a level where they're not worried about hats and gloves and mittens and groceries and all the things that are basic necessities in life, keeping their heat on. I think that there's enough of those people that would actually really find a lot of value and purpose
and joy
in helping someone else get those same things that they now have. The thing that happens a lot of times when we rely on the government for assistance is that there is no relationship. The relationship is we send our taxes to a place and we
get annoyed that we're sending our taxes to a place. Whereas
I don't love paying taxes, but I understand you got
But if I were to send it to the person down the street who they're excited to, make their Thanksgiving dinner. Great.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing with relationships. So, Meg, if you were the people that you mentioned could use hats, gloves, coats, mittens, or you have on the Christmas present list. It's not like you, Meg, run a gift drive.
No,
you don't. You coordinate with a local small business, a pretty big business, but you coordinate with a business to provide gifts for kids that participated in We Got This. Those kids receive the gifts because they have a relationship with the organization, and because they have a relationship with the organization, they have a relationship with you and I or other team members that We Got This. And so it's the transaction of here is this gift for Christmas is only because of the relationship. And so if I have been providing groceries to a family for 6 months, I think it would be pretty absurd if I have never learned anything about anything else about this family. And when I run into somebody that says that they're looking to hire someone who fits the exact mold of the person that you've been helping out by providing groceries, you don't have that opportunity to make that connection. Snap's not making a job for the lady down the street. But if Sally from Waukesha is bringing her groceries every other week, and excuse me, and Sally from Waukesha learns about a job that this person would be super qualified for and would actually maybe change the course of her life, that's never going to happen with a government program. What is going to happen is people with the means use a little bit of their excess to provide access for somebody else, and then it helps that person, go on and on to live a life that they want to live. Because Meg, I don't even know how many people I know that are on Snap. Lots, over 100, easily, probably multiple hundreds.
You don't know that many people.
I know a lot of. Meg, we live in the poorest zip code in the state of Wisconsin. Many of the people that live here
Yes,
are
but
on
could you name
assistance.
200 people you know?
I could go down through the list of kids that I've taught in the past, and I
okay.
could tell
Kids. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So throughout
Okay.
the course of my lifetime,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
I'm probably not going to call them all up on the phone.
Sure. I was just thinking maybe it was all the people who stopped when you were working at the White House on the corner.
Yeah, well, that's probably another.
You know a lot of
add
people
that
through that.
50 or 100 people to that
Yeah.
list. So
you talked with a lot of people
the
this
only
summer.
point I'm trying to get to with that is there are way more missed connections
Yeah.
that exist
Yeah.
currently because we separate ourselves. And this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting back to what you were talking about like this system. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, the system does a fine job of providing food for those who need food and making
Mm-hmm.
sure nobody goes hungry. I'm sure it does a fine job
Mm-hmm.
of that. But I think in an ideal society, the people that have extra give their extra
Yeah.
to somebody that doesn't have
Yeah.
it, and then they develop a relationship with that
Yeah.
person, and then that relationship blossoms into
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
Because I know a ton of kids from Egathis and kids that I've taught in the past that just had no idea what was available to them in
Yeah.
life because of where they grew up
Mm-hmm.
or the family structure that they were in or some ridiculously terrible trauma that they experienced
Yeah.
as a young person. All of those things compounded to living a life where you're more likely to be reliant on
Mm-hmm.
an assistance, even to the point where you receiving that assistance is somehow equated with you having done something. Like, oh, I have rent assistance now, and I've made it. Well, I think a lot of the negative comments that you were getting on Facebook were in that vein. That Meg, I work just as much or more than anybody that I know. Always working.
You're always working.
Always working. And so I could be the first person to judge someone who gets SNAP and sits on their porch and drinks all day. And so, but I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't. And I don't because I've never lived as that person.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to be that person.
I mean, I feel like the stories we hear, it's like insane. Some of the situations that people have that are in, and I feel like, yeah, we're always like, wow, I didn't, I feel like I like judge somebody for a second, and then I hear their story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine being in that situation. And so, yeah, I think like there's so many more traumas that happen over here, and there's so many more life situations that are just really, really, really hard.
Yeah, and the thing that I realized through the government shutdown,
Yeah.
and hearing all about how this SNAP program was not going to be funded, it reminded me of how brittle reliance on someone else to make these things happen really is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 100 senators can decide not to get along with one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are potentially going hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just reliant on these 100 people to get along once a year to make a budget.
Who probably don't know a lot of the people who are on government assistance.
I would be very surprised.
Yeah.
And also are, for the most part, incredibly wealthy themselves.
Yes.
So,
yes.
but we don't have to go down that road.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I was reminded that it's a fairly brittle system.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it might just be better if we figured out a slightly better way.
Or at least
do that.
We had some backup plans when stuff like this. I mean, this happened once where things aren't going back to the way, they were 5 years ago. Like I don't know that I see, 10 years ago. I don't know that I see that happening. People just keep getting more and more. Things just keep getting more and more divisive. And so I don't see it being, back to the good old days, or so what are we doing to make things better, because we can make things better.
Yeah. Meg, we're about right at the time, but I want to talk about something else. Do you mind if we do a part 2?
We should do a part 2. Yeah.
All right.
I do.
Oh, you have something to say? Okay.
Well, I always want to plug, and especially this time of year, we got this community garden. We are doing a lot of things for like end of the year. Our wonderful lunch ladies have a whole bunch of things set up. So we're going to be putting out some stuff on Facebook. So if you want to join in, I know at least we're going to be giving away hats and gloves and scarves and coats and stuff like that. So some of those are going to be on the Amazon wish list, but check out the website. We got this mka.com if you'd like to join in.
All right.
I'd love to have you.
Yeah, feel free to leave a nasty comment too. Those are always fun.
For sure.
All right, thanks for listening. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.